My plans for the Mercedes C300. What am I doing anyway? Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to Rob Motive Rides. So what are my plans for the C300 Mercedes-Benz? If you're new here, I recently got this car, and I love it. It's awesome. Not sure if I like this camera angle, though. Got the screen in the way, but that's a whole other thing. But anyway, I love this car. It is awesome, and I have a ton of plans for it. I think in the end, what I'm really going to try to do is turn it into Mercedes Night Edition or blacked out version, whatever they call it, because there's a lot that I like about that. So I've been going around. You saw in the pictures there's a lot of things missing and some things painted from the Mercedes-Benz right now. And that's because I am turning it into the Night Edition. I'm not a big chrome fan. If you watch any of my other channels, Rob Motive or Rob Motive JT, then you certainly know I'm not a chrome fan. So I'm gonna transform it. I'm gonna paint as opposed to vinyl wrap. Now, I discovered, because I had thought I was gonna do some vinyl wrapping. So I bought some vinyl wrap and all the stuff that goes with it. And then I actually made an attempt. I actually started a video. And I discovered that vinyl wrapping is an art form. It's kind of like drywall work. You know, years ago, I decided I was going to do some drywalling, you know. I was going to do the seams and all the little imperfections and all that stuff. So I got a trough and I got the mud and I tried to do it, and it was horrible. It looked horrible. It was cracky. It was uneven. It's an art form. It's just not something you can pick up and do at the spur of the moment, which is what I tried to do with the vinyl wrap. The biggest problem I had with it, one, it just doesn't fit. You have to get great big sheets, I think, so that you can avoid sharp angles, because when you take the tape and you try to go around a sharp angle, it doesn't work very well. You kind of have to stretch it a little bit, and if you stretch it too much, then you ruin it. And then you have the bubbles and creases and all that stuff. So it was just a horrible experience. Painting is much easier for me. I've done a lot of painting on my other channels with bits and pieces and stuff. So I have a pretty good track record at it, I think. Usually the jobs come out pretty darn good, barring any little specks of things that might get in it. I'll tell you real quick, part of this Mercedes trim painting job, I had a piece, and man, it came out great. It looked good, so I took it into the house, was going to leave it sit to dry, you know, to cure, to keep it out of the elements outside. Well, I did that. I took it in, and I didn't drop it. Everything was fine. And then I got to looking at it, and there was a hair. There was a hair in the paint. It was kind of draped around the edge. So I thought, well, you know, hopefully it's just right at the top. It's no big deal. So I got a pair of tweezers, you know, because I couldn't get to it with my fingers. So I got a pair of tweezers, and I grabbed it and I pulled it off. And of course, it left a little bit of a ridge in it from where the hair had sat in. It was like a canyon in the trim work, right? But I pulled it off. So I used my finger, and the paint was still pretty soft. Not wet or anything, but still fairly soft. So I took my thumb, actually, and I kind of pushed down on the area, hoping it would kind of force that little micro ledge together. And it did. It seems to have worked out okay. It didn't completely disappear. If you really got to looking at it, you probably could see it. But it's nothing that I was willing to sand the paint off or repaint it or anything like that. That would have been crazy. The only other thing I'm concerned about with that is that when I pushed it with my thumb, is that I left a fingerprint in it, or a thumbprint. Hopefully that's not the case. It's a picky thing, and I think even if I did, it's probably so minute that you would never see it. That's my story. That's the biggest problem I've had, other than cracking a piece. I did crack a piece. I'll cover that in a video going forward. It's not the end of the world. It didn't ruin the job, and it didn't ruin the piece. But nonetheless, I did crack one. One thing that I have discovered about the Mercedes-Benz that is pretty darn cool, all those chrome trim pieces in the bodywork, you know, like across the lip in the front, in the back, around the tailpipes, along the sides, everywhere that Mercedes puts chrome, they're all just held in by little pins, if you will, or little like arms that go into the rest of the bodywork. So you can get a plastic trim removal tool and you can kind of pull all those off, and you can do it without breaking without breaking too much. Honestly, full disclosure, I did break a couple of them, but nothing that really has any impact. There are so many of them that even if you break a couple of them, it's not going to matter. And even if it did, just put a little bit of double-sided tape behind it and it's never going to be an issue. But I really like that. They've made it in such a way that you can remove those pieces and do what you want to do with them. Either wrap them if you're good at doing that, or paint them, which is what I'm doing. So the goal is, in the end, I guess, to kind of transform my Mercedes 300 or C300 into a night edition version. I really love the way that looks. It's not to say there won't be any chrome left on it. There will be some. And I think on the Mercedes, it's kind of a classy look. So leaving a little bit of chrome on the Mercedes is not that big of a deal. I don't have really that big of an issue with it. So we shall see. Otherwise, other things I'm looking at doing, I may do something with the exhaust down the road. I'm not quite sure yet. Probably will. It'd be nice to have a little bit of a sporty kind of throaty sound. I don't know if I can get that out of the Mercedes without being kind of tacky or corny. You know, I'm not looking for some, you know, rattle can, tinny kind of sound out of the car. Definitely not something I want. But if I can get a little bit of a grumble, just a little bit, I don't want it to be overbearing. I don't want it to be obnoxious. But if I can get just a little bit of sound out of it, that would make me pretty darn happy. One other thing I want to address is the window tint. When I got this car, it was already tinted. The previous owners, it is used, by the way, the previous owners had tinted it, which I like, but the problem is they tinted it legal, I believe, which means it's pretty darn light. I would rather have it be a bit darker, especially on a black Mercedes. I think black is the best color for any vehicle anyway. What's the best and the worst? Terrible to keep clean, terrible for scratches, but it looks pretty cool. And it looks even better with a darker black tint on the windows. So that's something I may look at having done. Not something I would do myself. Again, that's another art form as far as I'm concerned, but something that I might look at doing. Also, wheels and tires and all that kind of stuff, they're chrome. The wheels that are on this car right now are chrome. Honestly, if they weren't full of curb rash, I probably would leave them on the car. But the previous owners seem to like the curbs. It is a one-owner car, by the way. Well, two now, if you count me. But they seem to like the curbs. So there's a decent amount of curb rash on them, and I just can't leave it that way. I've got to go ahead and replace them, and I already know what I'm doing. The big decision for me is whether I should go from 18s to 19s. Right now, the car has 18s on it. Anyway, I just wanted to get on here, kind of give you guys a little bit of an idea of what I'm going to do with the Mercedes C300. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think. And if there's anything else that maybe you've done or you know of that you think would be cool to do, leave a comment. Let me know. I'd be interested. Also, real quick, I do have 2 additional channels. Rob Motive, all about the Toyota Tacoma, and Rob Motive JT, all about the Jeep Gladiator. Check them out, and if you like them, please consider subscribing. And don't forget to click the subscribe button on this channel. Thanks for watching. Stay safe out there. Bye.